This commentary is made with the help of Microsoft OneNote's immersive reader function that converts text to speech. Hey there, I'm Jessie Lamb and this is a director's commentary of my film short, Dear Friend, an Arcane story. There are Arcane Season 1 spoilers in this video, so if you haven't watched the show, please turn away now. Before we begin, I have some topics to cover, though feel free to use the chapters to skip as needed. The initial video of Dear Friend was an outdated version uploaded by mistake, so we will be using the updated director's cut instead. I'll be pausing in places as necessary for more behind-the-scenes commentary. Once I'm done, this director's cut version will be shown in full. Dear Friend began with a simple idea: turn a song Jinx sang as a child in the first episode into a leitmotif that connects two sisters across their lifetimes. I imagine this song as a lullaby passed down by Vi through their late mother, with whom they've shared their happiest memories with. Caitlin would learn of this song through Vi, and in this way, becomes a new addition to the family. While researching for this film, I learned the composers at Riot had adapted a theme from a League of Legends character named Tom Kench to create the score's The Bridge track. This required a small pivot. Having read the lyrics in full, I had to prioritize visual storytelling without dialogue and lyrics for the short. This way, international audiences would understand its story without need of localization. I began storyboarding in January 2022 over many evenings and weekends, then finished around March the next year, and put together the first edit by May. Work picked up around then, so I took longer breaks. All of the sound I had was temp. I knew early on I would need compelling music to keep the film together, and it had to be an original score. Finding composers is usually an ordeal, but I was very lucky to find one nearby. Here, my composer Yvonne Cho would score to picture, just like in the show, so all the music flows seamlessly in every sequence. She and I met through the Arcane fandom, and I reached out to her specifically for this project. This is actually her first time scoring a film. She warned me her violin playing wouldn't be as good as violinist Ray Chen on a Stradivarius. As general direction, I told her it wouldn't matter if she had a Stradivarius of her own, so long as she put her whole chest into this score and did her best to stab them in the soft bits. I am very happy to say I consider myself sufficiently stabbed. Please check out her music channel in the description below. Outside of the bridge theme from Arcane's soundtrack, the film's first edit had royalty-free music from Pixabay. When I accidentally stretched a clip of the bridge, it created a melancholic tone shift with a key change that suited the transition of Vi in Stillwater to Vi napping at a picnic. I don't think I was able to translate this into the score proper, but part of me hoped the lower key managed to inspire something in the real music. If this were a real production, the score would be written after animation and edits were done. Sometimes animation timings and scene lengths would shift over the course of the project, but bringing music and sound early on in storyboard phase helps set the tone. The music was finished around December 2023, and by then I was able to call in a favor to bring in sound designers to complete the film. They were also huge Arcane fans and were delighted to help, the absolute legends. You can find one of their socials in the description below. While I had no access to voiceover artists, sound designers at Brass Door Audio introduced me to Delana Martins, who graciously hummed a small portion of the bridge theme. Delana's humming had some processed reverb that ended up mixing well with the music score, and it made the sound feel like a distant memory. But I still needed a raw, unprocessed, vocal element for our characters to help ground the humming melodies in chronological order. So I totally did the smart move of making a ridiculous amount of takes at the last minute. On the very day I was about to upload the film, all it took was some noise gate cleanup, volume and pitch shifting later, and here we are. I put everything together after being stuck in an airport for 16 hours and coming in the door jet-lagged at 3 a.m. I was so excited I uploaded the video so everyone can enjoy some pre-New Year's fireworks. Everyone who worked with me did a wonderful job, and I am grateful for their help. I couldn't have completed this film without them. Here are my thoughts about storyboarding as a process. To me, storyboards are a vital part of filmmaking. As story reels, they can deliver the whole experience with sound, music and voice acting without investing in the actual production itself. For this project I was rearranging boards in my head, and in editing until I was happy. Satoshi Kon and Katsuhiro Otomo notoriously put a lot of planning into their boards, which are immaculately well drafted, and now that I've done it, they are even more inspiring to me than before. They're also kind of terrifying, because I don't know how they kept doing it. My internal quality bar for this was at the same level Disney and Pixar hold for their feature films. This is a side project I was passionate about. I have prior experience in storyboarding. I've boarded video game cutscenes for the Coalition's Gears 5, and the 4th episode of the Hinterlands The Long Dark, both of which I strived for a similar quality. In my line of work, draftsmanship is very important. The sooner I can hammer out the important parts of the script, the sooner I can make more creative choices on pacing and delivery. Even in personal projects, storyboard cuts are unavoidable, but this way you can at least choose what to leave on the cutting room floor. It hurts, but it's vital to know what's important to the story you want to tell, and what doesn't end up supporting it. I like to find the most economical way to tell a story, then stylize certain shots for emphasis and build more narrative layers to support a running theme. The tools I use to help make blocking out shapes and shading easier in my storyboards help, don't get me wrong. But I am a horrible overthinking galaxy brain genius. And like all geniuses, I gave myself more work to do just to say I could. Small thumbnails are super helpful for layouts or planning shot flow. When I draw them all on a page, they may not necessarily be drawn in chronological order. I try not to get too precious about shots I like, but I look how Studio Fortiche lovingly preserves every drawing they have. Their method encourages me to find a better use of them somewhere else. I have seen some comments complimenting this film as an animatic. While it's humbling, I would not consider this as such since there are no tweened or hand-drawn rough animation in these boards. Animatics are a more polished version of story reels meant for those who can't visualize the end product. I had a taste of this working on a show called Invincible. The fact many streamed shows use animatics for everything makes me a little sad. The storyboarding process is a lot different from many projects my peers and I had previously worked on. In certain cases, overworking boards can be labor-intensive and not as useful for overseas vendors. This is just my opinion. I don't recommend over-animating your storyboards or giving your drawings the same level of detail as I did. Boards can get cut at any time in a real production, and that is time and effort you can't get back. For personal projects, I think you should do this at your own risk. Just be sure to work at your own pace and comfort level. It's an unsustainably large workload, especially if you're working on hour-long episodes in a studio setting. Time and budgeting are extremely important resources, and somehow many projects seem short on both. Some animation studios may require more hand-holding than others, but in general it helps that animators are given as much space and creative agency as they need to enhance the performances on the boards. If you get to work with an animator at all, please talk to them. They make good friends, I promise. And with that, let's begin the director's commentary. This is Vi's first core memory, hearing her mother sing her to sleep. This moment with the fireworks is implied to be Progress Day, but Piltover can have any number of celebrations at once. For Vi, Jinx and their smiling mother, this was an important memory for them. When Vi sings her sister to sleep, she mimics their mom singing a lullaby. We know nothing about their parents. Vander hinted they were allies in his revolt, meaning Vi took care of her sister while the parents were away. They didn't seem to have anyone else besides Vander to look after them. The girls have yet to see Piltover for what it really is. Instead of having Vander pop into each pose, I faded them in as a stylistic choice for a softer tone. This was a technique I used for motion comics. Watching the fireworks became a way of remembering their mom, and this is how the sisters are reminded they have and will always be loved. When I mentioned Piltover can have any celebrations they want, I imagined for them today was for striking down Vander's rebellion, which was also the day Vi and Jinx became orphans. I intended this to be silent at first. The first sound draft had a punch and a gunshot sound. I had a flash of inspiration and suggested the monkey bomb, which is what we're hearing here. For the original scratch track, I had Denim Catfish do all the singing for it. When Vi is alone in Stillwater, singing her lullaby I thought was a way of self-soothing, just like it is with Jinx, but Denim Catfish told me it's hard to sing let alone breathe with broken ribs, so I kept this moment silent. We know Fortiche loves its juxtaposition shots in Arcane, so it was apropos to make a nod to it here. This is one of 4 looks I've designed for Caitlyn in this film. I figured her casual looks skew slightly masculine but crisp and tailored. This lady does love her uniforms. If the kisses weren't obvious enough, I included a heart-shaped keepsake locket with a music box inside, because Vi's song became Vi and Caitlyn's song. Caitlyn knows enough about Vi's upbringing and had this made so Vi would have something to play music for her whenever she's feeling lonely. Caitlyn knows Vi's heart and wanted to make sure she is taken care of. Again with the juxtaposition match cut, because who doesn't love a shocking transition? Yvonne did such a great job with the pizzicato string work. Brass door audio added so much to the score with the processed creepy giggling layered on top that matched Jinx's vibe and the way her voices haunt her. Jinx grows up returning to the one spot to see Piltover's fireworks every year, and feeling the isolation, and her inner voices overwhelm her. When you're alone long enough to hurt, this is the only place Jinx can let everything out. Even if Jinx accepted who she is, it doesn't make her voices or mental illness go away. Caitlyn is seriously pissed here. She bit her own lip so hard it bled. We don't know if Jinx killed Caitlyn's mother at the end of season 1, but Jinx did kidnap Caitlyn naked in her own bathroom, knocked her lights out, and ruined what would have been a peace treaty between Piltover and Zaun. I think that deserves a bit of scorn. I'm excited for unhinged angry Caitlyn in season 2. This isn't the first time Jinx has aimed and fired a chain gun at Vi, but she did get Vi pretty good this time. Vi is fulfilling a self-imposed promise. She'd never willingly abandon Jinx. Vi is that sort of person who would throw themselves at danger and easily sacrifice themselves for the people she loves. Vi has thrown away her gauntlets like Vander and resorts to the one last thing to reach out to Jinx in this state. With singing. It's different than when Jinx self-soothes, because this is Vi who has been a second parent all this time. Vi even now is the sister who still loves Jinx, and makes good on all her promises. Hidden in this flashback montage are all of Jinx's happy core memories. Mom giving cupcakes to her children and sneaking them into Piltover movie theaters, showing them the fireworks, learning to read, and growing up with Vi. I imagined cupcakes are a delicacy in Piltover, which meant the mom had to steal some, trade for it, or copy the recipe herself. Jinx realizes Vi is bleeding out everywhere and she's about to lose another person, and it'd be all her fault again, because Jinx only knows how to fix and tinker with objects, not people. It occurs to me Jinx has never seen Vi's ink, so I gave her a tiny glimpse here, because she needs to know Vi has never stopped thinking about her too. Caitlin here is the only person who can help Jinx, and she has every reason to just take Vi back and leave Jinx to the mercy of the enforcers. Instead, she makes Jinx take accountability by staunching Vi's bleeding wounds, and Jinx blacks out here. I've paced this film like a quick match-cut music video montage, fully intending to make it shorter, but it felt right to slow things down and let the performances breathe. Like we've just caught up to my version of present-day Arcane. I've had trouble deciding what to do with Jinx, and tried a couple routes where Caitlin either had Jinx holed up in Stillwater in Vi's old cell, where Jinx breaks out on her own, or had her heavily sedated in a hospital. I ended up sort of doing both. Ever since Jinx learned Vi had been jailed during the time she thought Vi was dead, we never got to see her internalize what that life was like for her sister. Regardless of when Jinx shut Vi's voice out growing up, that perfect sister in her mind had been locked away because Jinx thought she didn't need or deserved to be loved in that way again. In Season 1, Jinx was haunted by guilt manifesting as Milo and Clagger's corpses. I felt Jinx always had hope Vi would be alive, since we never saw effigies of Vander and Vi in the show, which may also be Fortish's hint that they survived the ordeal. A flashback within a lucid dream is very Inception of me, but I felt very strongly about the way Jinx always lives in different moments of her past. I'm sure it's not anything extreme like hyperthymesia, where this recall happens non-stop. It was important for me to highlight how Jinx needs to embrace and accept these dormant feelings of guilt and sisterly love she has denied herself. This comes nowhere near atonement or taking accountability, that I will leave to Arcane's writers. I think Jinx mirrors Vi's expression of love. Vi uses her hands to protect her family and care for them. Jinx uses her gadgets to cheer people up with fireworks and fend off bullies. Seeing the way Vi throws herself at every problem, it's no wonder Jinx wants to help. Vi presents herself as self-sufficient, but there's no one who would show up for her, and for the longest time Jinx wanted to be that person. However Jinx decides to move on, I feel deep down she will never stop loving her sister and wanting to make a better place for just the both of them in whatever way she is capable of expressing. Here Jinx wakes up in the hospital, heavily sedated and hooked up to a blood transfusion device. Caitlin has allowed her to be in the same room with Vi, fully knowing the effects of Shimmer. In small controlled doses, Shimmer seems effective to treat most types of injuries or disabilities. This is a photo of Vi and her found family. In the show this photo looked carefully preserved and pristine, but here I had it unfolded in the frame. The choice I made to fold it up was very deliberate, as it had been stuffed in Vi's locket earlier. Caitlin found the time to carefully extract it from the locket off screen, and frame it for Vi. As a callback to the show, I had Jinx hallucinate Caitlin as her mother, just like with Vi. While she sobers up, she discovers Caitlin knows the lullaby, but more importantly has not harmed or incarcerated Jinx in any way. The only reason she would do this when she has every reason not to is for Vi. Jinx, putting 2 and 2 together, implicitly comes to accept she now has an in-law. Caitlin is a little disheveled here, wearing a big military-style trench over her shoulders, and has probably sat in that tiny chair for days without sleep looking after these chaotic sisters and totally has negative bandwidth for anything else. I think Caitlin truly wants to change the enforcers and the way the punitive justice has been dealt towards Zonites, but Jinx does not make any of that easy. Vi stirs awake, fully under the effects of shimmer, and this frightens Jinx, who doesn't know how to handle being the reason someone else suffers from incessant voices and void influences just like her. Vi is especially vulnerable here, and tries to reach out for Jinx, who runs away from her. In League of Legends, Vi's eyes were slightly purple or blue instead of the gray in Arcane, so I thought maybe a blood transfusion with Jinx might eventually be the reason why. The show never gives Vi a single break and keeps punishing her for wanting to do the right thing. I don't believe she ever gave her own future much thought until this moment. When she needs to think, I feel she's the type who needs a change of scenery. This is why I had her take a long walk alone. Because she doesn't want Caitlin to worry, she's left a note where she'll be going. Right there. It's got a little cupcake on it. I like to think Vi's nickname for Caitlin was not just a way to flirt and mess with her, but because of those core memories it's a silent way of saying Caitlin is the nicest thing that happened to Vi. And this is the bathysphere from Season 1. Vi didn't need it then, but I doubt she's in any shape to jump off the edge of the cliff again like Assassin's Creed, so here she is hitching a ride for free. This is my favorite soundscape from Brassdoor Audio. They went all in to make Zon feel like a lived in space, and it blended in perfectly with Yvonne's piano rendition of Enemy. In the Enemy music video, Vi and the other kids dine and dash. But here I thought it'd be nice that Vi paid Jericho for a meal for once now that she has money to spend on people worth spending on. I really wanted to have Vi visit Vander's statue if only to see that there are Zonites who still hold respect for him. But the Undercity and its people have changed too much for Vi to feel at home, and it's easy to see how isolated Vi is here. Vi feels she has no purpose of her own without the people she loves, and that can be a type of codependency she needs to grow out of. Not once has the show given Vi a selfish goal of her own, because Vi's drive is fueled by love. I secretly hid Jinx in a couple of shots, because she's been moping around since she got back. We can spot her shadowing Vi in the marketplace, and again at Vander's statue. But really the reason why she seems to know where Vi is going is because she was going to go to their secret hangout spot anyway. In this film, it's the anniversary of their mother's passing. In the third act of my film, I could feel myself losing steam because most of the background layouts I drew before this point have seen very little reuse. But here the shots all take place in the same location, meaning I had to make a separate design of the area to draw every background consistently and choose which shots I can reuse. This is a very important skill to have in animation. Vi opens her locket here mostly out of habit, like flicking open a lighter, but having heard that the music box still works, she tucks it away in her jacket. I had a couple versions of Jinx launching her fireworks, first like a grenade, but then it made more sense for her to press a switch instead. Jinx usually keeps a stash of fireworks around to light herself every year, but she switched it up recently for Vi in memory of the blue flare, because Vi doesn't have one to use to call for help herself. This is my version of Jinx showing that she cares in her own way to be there for Vi. In League of Legends, the sisterly dynamic seems to be only slightly antagonistic, but still rooted in a place of affection and care. When Jinx yanks Vi over to check on her eye, she is utterly relieved that it hasn't permanently changed color. Vi is still herself after the shimmer blood transfusion. And when Jinx leans on her sister, that is her unspoken way of apologizing. Here Caitlyn does recon from afar with her sniper rifle. Note that her finger is on the barrel and away from the trigger, because unlike Call of Duty players, she has actual trigger discipline. I love how Caitlyn in the show was so clumsy around rooftops and fearful of heights, but still managed to catch up with Vi because she knows how to hunt. Learning how to parkour would be a sign of personal growth in that arc, so I wanted to express it here. Snipers like being in places with good sight lines, so it only makes sense that Caitlyn needs to know how to navigate any environment. I cut a scene where Jinx saw Caitlyn and waves at her while Kate cringes about it. It was funny, but unnecessary for the pace I was going. This is the fourth round of Caitlyn's costume design inspired from a marching band jacket, and the straitjacket version of Helsing. I kept it simple with no embellishments, because she could fit in easier with Zonites. No, I'm joking, that is a lie, it's so I could have an easier time drawing it consistently. Dressing up Caitlyn was very fun, and I am dying to know which of her Season 2 looks is her voice actor's favorite. When Jinx offers cupcakes, she is unofficially welcoming Caitlyn to the family. Caitlyn is very suspicious until she looks over at Vi, who has already ate one before she takes one politely. Writer Amanda Overton mentioned one of the themes of Season 2 of Arcane was forgiveness. I believe, however the characters decide to move forward, the feelings and the memories will remain. The end credits are an any % speedrun of my headcanon of the first season, and I was glad that my composer added a few extra seconds in the score, so I had an excuse to add more things I wanted to put in the film itself, but didn't have time for, like Jinx's obsession with bombs came from fireworks, and her vivid impression of film grain came from watching movies. This film came about because I had a lot of unanswered questions about the show, and I need to unpack my feelings about them. It takes a lot for me to turn off my brain and enjoy something without my thoughts interrupting me in the middle of watching. I am glad this show and Fortiche exists. Always have something to write down ideas no matter where you are the moment something comes to you. Smartphones and tablets and notepads are great for this. It's easier if all your notes are consolidated in the same place, so you can keep track of your progress. Get as much mileage as you can with thumbnails. Work small to big. Easier to work with, and you can see each drawing from afar, rather than being zoomed in on too much detail. Play with camera angles, reorder your boards, find the most important acting moments, and find where all these pieces fit. Video editing is a great way to see your entire project start to finish, and understand how to better pace your narrative and rethink your board drawings. Certain software apps like Storyboard Pro will make this process a little more streamlined, but not all of us have $1,000 to spend on programs. I used Photoshop CS6, Clip Studio Paint, Infinite Painter, Procreate, and a copy of Sony Vegas Pro 14 from Humble Bundle to put this project together. I can't stress how much work it's been to keep drawing new backgrounds. This was the hardest thing for me to balance because on one hand I want to make everything, but on the other I will die or my future team will murder me in my sleep if I keep giving them too much work. Satoshi Kon likes to draw very clean, immaculate storyboards to save his layout artist's time and effort, but this also takes a toll on him as a director. My goal is to make everything as clear as possible, so there is minimal problem solving around how to assemble backgrounds in a real production. A 3D floor plan can help if a whole sequence takes place in one location. In some cases, I think it's almost better to have a finished model of the area. Meat is always better with a little bit of fat content. I try to cut as much unnecessary boards as I can, reorder them, or find another way to frame a scene. When I tried editing all the parts I thought I didn't need in this film, I got an extremely linear and dry cut that played everything straight. Optimized but with no extra flavor. A friend encouraged me to be more self-indulgent and keep it as it is, and so I did, because I had good reasons for keeping scenes the way they were. If Fortiche can flaunt the rules and film norms, then so can I. I'm not a fan of trauma porn per se. While I understand Arcane's writers want to explore the range of drama they are willing to put their characters through, I want a peaceful closure. Putting the audience through the ringer means knowing when to give them rest and a worthy payoff. If that meant the tone in the ending of my film will be fluffier and lighter than the show itself, I'm fine with it. Fortiche and the Arcane writers are over there plotting to destroy all our lives, and I'm over here going, teehee teehee, I made Caitlyn parkour. I almost went with one of two sad endings. One of them was where they part in the credits, partly to maintain tone as established in League of Legends lore, and to leave things ambiguous. The other is when Vi wakes up in the hospital alone, and realized everything wasn't real. What changed my mind was this video by Overly Sarcastic Productions, Arcane's Unbreakable Bonds of Love, and Why They Suck. It made me remember why love and grief are central themes to the show. I was so torn about making the right answers and finally decided on one I'd give myself. Thank you for staying to the end of this director's commentary. I'll take a break here and let everyone enjoy the final cut as is.